Anime is remembered for many things: how beautiful it can look, the tears-jerking stories, the cultured content. I mean, a lot of cultured content. However, if you had to choose what part of anime that is probably most famous worldwide, it has to be shounen. From the various grand adventures the main characters experience to the down-to-earth struggles of making a living, the term shounen is meant to refer to a young male audience. What makes some shounen stand out more than others are those that have that added key spice. And Dr. Stone is undoubtedly one of the most memorable shonen shows, largely in part to its excellent protagonist, Ishigami Senku. With me today is a friend of mine who has worked with me for a previous video, Amifaiz.
Hello. Thank you, Amifaiz, for having me again. Right, so Dr. Stone is a series that takes place during a fairly modern time, which we can relate to in terms of the level of its technology. Certainly the setting at the start is within our decade, and it centers around the journey of a genius protagonist, Ishigami Senku, a high school student, in reviving humanity after a mysterious blast of green rays took over Earth, turning everyone into stone for about 3,700 years. Senku actually counted this. Generally, the plot is filled with a lot of scientific explanations and Senku's motives in achieving his goals, including, and not limited to, reviving his friends, creating various things of science, and engaging with different generations of people. This is due to the difference in their point of revival in time relative to Senku's era.
What we believe makes a good main protagonist are 4 characteristics: a clear goal, an interesting power set, personality, and an ability to drive the story. What is pretty much common for any shonen is that the main character will almost always have a clear goal from the very first episode. In Senku's case, it is to revive humanity through the power of science. Very straightforward and a very noble goal, albeit one that is extremely difficult to achieve by just one man. This goal is, however, also supported by one key layer of characterization, one that can't possibly be overlooked: his love for science. Through flashbacks, we see how Senku has always been gifted with great intellect and uses that intellect to achieve his dream of reaching the moon. This endeavor is one that is also tied down to his father, making Senku's pursuit of the revival of humanity one that is both a worldwide and a personal goal.
Of course, each and every protagonist of a shonen has its unique power set. May it be cursed with the nine-tailed demon fox, blessed with a reading Steiner to travel between timelines, or gifted with a quirk passed down through generations. Senku, however, seems pretty ordinary relative to the others, as he has nothing else but his brain, his vast knowledge of science. The series also highlights Senku's incredibly practical as well as communication skills and persistence as seen in his experiments and failed attempts. Definitely not one to give up quickly without searching for a solution. Because of this, the series managed to be more realistic, as it almost always uses real facts that we too apply today in our experiment and productions of materials. In Senku's case, it really is brains over brawn, which was clearly highlighted if he was to be compared with Tsukasa. Quite a big gap in brute strength. If I would pick one trait from Senku's personality, it would definitely be his confidence. His confidence outshines other characters in the series, which propels Senku further into being a badass protagonist, making him likable with the abilities that we too can have realistically. He is again persistent in whatever he is trying to find, make or do with the knowledge that he has. His enthusiasm in science is shown in his reactions to material findings or productions, which is, again, relatable to anyone who has a background in science. A pretty lively character that knows when to joke around as well, getting along with others, and when to be serious. In short, his personality also plays a part in making him a likable, intelligent high school boy, one we can relate to if we were to get along with him.
Any show is made up of 4 general pillars: the story, the plot, the setting, and the characters. In Dr. Stone, our story and plot is directly affected by whatever Senku is doing. A very large portion of the 25-episode show revolves around Senku doing something which drives the story forward. Actively trying to survive, planning to take over the village, plotting to defeat Tsukasa and his army. His actions not only cause the narrative to move forward but to push other characters as well, helping them out directly or indirectly. He is one of the very few main protagonists who almost entirely dictate where the story will go, making him one of the most active main characters out there.
In the grand scheme of things, an ideal protagonist should definitely hit these 4 criteria at the very least, in order to reveal a one-of-a-kind story to us. It can be seen as the crux of any shonen series. On the other hand, Senku is a pretty great example of how the main character would, or rather should, drive the story in the category of series where most of the attention, the story revolves around the protagonist. Again, the criteria for an ideal protagonist are relative and are not limited to these 4, but we have agreed, however, that it should definitely hit these 4 criteria. In the end, a great shonen series is often reflected by the attention and hype it gets from the fans, as it was written and delivered well. Regardless of how cliche it may sound, there is always some truth behind it.